Enhance your experience by becoming a supporting member. Gain access to unseen videos and video requests. 3-day free trial by visiting zionmembership.com. Chosen ones, empaths. There's a big mistake you make regarding the narcissist involved in your life. There's a big, big, big mistake, right? And it's taking what they say seriously, right? Some of you have discovered they're thieves. Some of you have discovered they're cheaters. They betrayed you. Some of you have discovered they're liars, right? So if you know that they're phonies and fakes and snakes, right? Then you got to know that at the time of a discard or a reverse discard, there was a motive at play. They had a motive, right? This is what a lot of chosen ones and empaths fail to realize. Look, chosen ones and empaths are highly intuitive, and they're in touch with their emotions. And prior to awakening or post awakening, you know, you're very intuitive, you're in touch with your emotions, and it can be quite shocking and daunting to your system when you're on the receiving end of a discard or a reverse discard, right? It can be quite shocking. Or even if you cut them off because they become too toxic and you're dealing with someone who becomes so toxic, right? It can be very shocking to the system, and it can shock you, right? But you forget that you're dealing with a phony. You forget you're dealing with a fake, a snake. Someone that has a motive, someone that has an agenda. They have an agenda against you. They did, right? So you need to take, I've said this before in videos, you know the saying, you take a pinch of salt. You can't take a pinch of salt with a narcissist that's involved in your life. You need a whole bucket of salt, right? And you need to take that whole bucket, and you need to really analyze what's happened. You need to look beneath the veil, right? You need to look beneath the veil. For example, the narcissist involved in your life has told you, discarded you, told you they want nothing to do with you, told you they hate you, whatever they've done, right? Whatever, colorful language they used, or whatever they said to you, right? You need to analyze that properly. Analyze that. Well, instead of ruminating about them and what you could have done or anything like that, falling into the emotional side of things, you need to desensitize and realize that this person had an agenda against you, right? They were deliberately saying things to harm you, to hurt you, to cause you pain, to cause you upset. It was all deliberate. It was a deliberate attack on you, right? That's what was occurring. And they're liars. You know they're a liar. You know they're a phony. You know they're a fake. So you can't take them seriously, even in the time of a discard or a reverse discard, or them becoming so toxic. You can't take them seriously at all. These people are phonies, fakes, snakes, right? And this is so many of you, right, in the comment section, not all the time, but I see it pop up quite frequently. So many of you say, oh, it's been 6 months, you haven't had a hoover, you don't think they're going to hoover you. You're playing on that narcissist's mind day in and day out. You may not realize it, but they're a lot closer than you think. You're playing on their mind a lot. I made a video the other day about how they don't know how to repair the bridge that's burned, right? The thing is you're dealing with someone that's been malicious, harsh, abrupt, rude, horrible, mean, cruel towards you, right? So it's not easy for them. They're not in a position. They're very stubborn. Even if life's not working out for them, they've met a new supply. They're around new supplies, and it's not working out for them. It's not easy for them to just pick up the phone and call you and tell you that things aren't working out in their life, because they know they're going to get immediately rejected, right? That's a big fundamental fear that occurs after the narcissist has discarded you, reverse discarded you, or become so toxic that you cut them off. You know, it's a fundamental fear that occurs with them afterwards that you're going to reject them, right? And for those of you that have cut the narcissist off, you know, I commend you. But they're not gonna. They're gonna do everything in their power, regardless of how it ended. They're gonna do everything in their power to paint a picture that everything's rosy and hunky dory and perfect, right? They're not gonna easily. Hoovers come with a lot of premeditation. Hoovers come with a lot of thought. A lot of effort goes into the Hoover, and it may seem like the most bizarre thing when it actually happens to you. So many of you only have to read in the comment section the survivors and the victims of narcissistic abuse that have received Hoovers from the narcissists in their life, and they're bizarre. The Hoovers are bizarre. The Hoovers make no sense. The Hoovers are stupid, you know? And you're dealing with a stupid idiot person, you know, a dusty weirdo. You are dealing with a dusty weirdo. It's the best way to describe them. They're dusty, you know? Look, it's not easy for them, you know. The thing is things don't line up the way they planned them either, right? They didn't expect you to be educating yourself now on videos and learning that they're a narcissist, for example. They didn't premeditate that, you know. Like I said, they premeditated the Hoover. They premeditate a Hoover. They also premeditated the discard or the reverse discard. You know, a lot of effort went into that for them to actually do that. You know, they premeditated it and had an agenda and a motive. A lot of effort went into them doing that, right? So therefore, they didn't take into an account that you're going to educate yourself, that you're going to heal, that you're going to grow, that you're going to ascend, that you're going to develop. You know, so many victims of narcissistic abuse, after experiencing the narcissist in their life, they go on to discover their purpose. They go on to discover their meaning. Life gets better for them. They didn't premeditate that. The way they had it figured out is that you're going to be distraught, hurt, and you may well be at this position in time that you are. You may well be hurt, distraught, betrayed, you know, trust issues, really in a bad way. You may well be, but life's going to open up for brighter days for you, and it will, you know. And what you need to know is that these words that were exchanged, these words that, not exchanged, but these words that were said to you during the final moments of the encounter with the narcissist involved in your life, they weren't true. This wasn't true. This was a real agenda and a real motive to hurt you. So they said the cruelest things they possibly could to make you feel small, to make you feel like nothing, to make you feel worthless, right? So this is why you need to bear patience. If you're waiting for a Hoover, right? Bear patience. Don't contact them. Don't communicate with them. Just get on with your life and your healing, right? If you really want to reject them on a Hoover, you really want to reject a Hoover, then you need to disconnect emotionally, physically, spiritually. You need to disconnect from the narcissist involved in your life. And this doesn't just have to be romantic relationships. This could be friendships, family members, colleagues, associates. You need to disconnect. You need to focus on your healing. The Hoover will come. If you be negative and say to yourself, oh, it's been 6 months, you've seen the narcissist with their new supply, they look happy, and you be negative about it, and you don't look beneath the veil and see that there's someone that is stubborn as fuck, right? This narcissist that was involved in your life is stubborn as fuck, right? They're not going to admit to you easily. They're not going to admit full stop. Some of the narcissists that are involved in your life do. Some of the lesser and mid-range, I class them as lesser and mid-range. The ones that will come with the sob story. The ones that will come with apologies and stuff like that. But a lot of them are stubborn as fuck, right? Sorry to swear, but they are. So it's not easy for them to reach out with these Hoovers. A lot of thought needs to go into it. Remember, they're not just going to validate you. and hoover you when they know they can be rejected, right? And they keep close tabs on you. They keep close eyes on you. They you know, if you're not on social media, they find out through flying monkeys or associates of yours, your whereabouts, what you're doing. Sometimes they resort to stalking in some cases. It happens, right? If they're bearing witness to you getting on with your life, you doing better, they're very competitive, right? So if a hoover does come, be prepared for something weird. Be prepared for something bizarre, like bizarre. Now, you may think that them texting you out of the blue or calling you from a blocked number or texting you, hi, how are you, is them not putting in much effort and not much thought. But you see, there is a lot of thought behind a hoover like that. There is a lot of thought that's gone into that. They're acting like nothing's happened. They're disregarding the pain they put you through, for example. They're just popping up out of the blue. Or if they're stalking you and they just pop up in your whereabouts, wherever you are, and they start trying to connect with you, and they act like nothing's happened, for example. There's a lot of thought and premeditation that's gone into that before they've actually done that, right? It's gonna come in a bizarre way. The hoover's not gonna be what you expect, right? Some of you have experienced receiving hoovers. I've read in the comment section as well. Some of you experienced hoovers from fake profiles, you know? You've experienced receiving hoovers from fake profiles. They do this. They try to, you know, they're even engaged in conversations with you from a fake profile, trying to figure you out. Because perhaps you're not on social media and you might be on a dating app, for example. You might be on another platform that they're not on. So they'll go onto that platform and they'll try and connect with you through which way. You know, I've heard it through testimonies from people I've spoken to. I've read it in the comment section. This is what they do, right? And now all of this is painting the fact that they want to be back in your life. They do. You know, the narcissist does want you back. And this is why I've discussed in this video about the reasons why they do. You know, all it was, right? All it was is at the time of the discard or reverse discard, or when they was becoming so toxic, you had to cut them off. It was more important for them to hurt you than it was to stay by your side. That's what it come down to. It was more important for them to hurt you than to stay by your side. Now, the reason they do this as well, I'll just go into that quickly. The reason they do this is to extract more supply from yourself. You see? By hurting you, by making you vulnerable, by being mean, by being cruel, they're hoping to extract more supply. But they're not prepared for the healing. And that's why you need to prioritize the healing above all things, right? Reflect on everything right you've done. You know? Reflect on everything positive that you are. Reflect on how beneficial you are to someone's life. They've made you feel worthless. They've made you feel like you're nothing. You know? They treated you bad. You know, they treated you mean. With hopes to keep you keen. You know? That's the reason why they behave in that way. You know, that's their logic. They think if they treat you badly, they hurt you, you're going to be stuck to them like glue. And that's why you need to prioritize your healing. The narcissist is out there, right? Wherever they are, whether it was a romantic relationship, a friendship, a family member, a colleague, associate, right? They're out there with new supplies that are not on your level. You only have to go through a selection of my videos to hear me discuss this in more depth, but they're out there, you know, with new supplies that are not on your level. They're out there with supplies that are possibly narcissists as well. They're out there with toxic individuals. They had someone like you who's very precious, who's very rare to come across, right? This is why the healing is priority. Because through the healing, you start to learn about yourself. You start to cultivate a relationship with yourself. You start to know exactly what you're worth, right? And the hurtful, derogatory slurs that come up from the narcissist that was involved in your life don't mean shit to you no more. The attempts to make you feel worthless don't mean anything anymore. You know, the devaluation doesn't mean anything to you because you've gone through the appropriate healing. But the fact of the matter is, this narcissist does want you back. This is why they'll put so much effort into trying to glorify a relationship with other suppliers. And like I said, this doesn't just have to be romantic relationships. This could be a friendship, right? This could be a friend, an old friend of yours. And they're glorifying that they're doing everything with their new associates, their new flying monkeys. They're acting like they're doing everything in the world and everything's better, and you know it's better than the friendship that you had with them. And this is what they'll do, right? They'll do this even in friendships. They'll try their hardest and utmost to make you feel jealous, to make you feel unworthy, right? You keep it real. You keep it 100. You know. You keep it real. Just see through the veil and focus on yourself. Focus on your healing and realize that you don't need none of these individuals in your life. Whether it was a romantic partner, you don't need them. Whether it was a friend, you don't need them. Whether it was a family member, you don't need them. Whether it was a colleague or an associate, you don't need them. They need you more than you ever needed them, ever. They needed you more when you was even in the relationship with them. They needed you more. They need you more now, right? They run into situations and they remember the type of person that you are, right? You know, for example, I just put an example out. A friend, right? A so-called narcissist friend, right? Or a toxic individual friend, right? May not have spoken to you in a long time. One day they'll call you for advice because the people that they accompany themselves with, their flying monkeys or toxic individuals, can't offer the advice that you would give. You know, they can't help in the same way that you would help. And the fact of the matter is, you know, you're not to wish any badness to befall anyone, because you don't even need to have that mindset. But naturally, this is what occurs in their lives. They run into situations when they need your assistance, right? This is fundamentally as well the reason why they want you back in their life, because you was able to assist them. And like someone who I've spoken to said, empaths are like people easers. Just so I'm not going to say their quote, because I've learned the quote from them. And empaths are like people easers, you know, not people pleasers. Empaths are like people easers. They make people feel at ease, right? And this is what the experience the narcissist involved in your life had around you by being in your presence. They don't feel the same way around other individuals. They don't feel at ease, right? You need to realize how much you're worth, right? Realize how much you're worth and how much you did. You see the ruminations that you suffer with after going through narcissistic abuse. Reflect on everything positive you've done, even if it comes to, you know, taking it old school and getting a pen and paper and drawing a list of everything positive you've done. You know, all of the positive things you've done. And I guarantee all of the mean things that you've done or the negative things that you've done, right, are actually have been coerced, if that's the right word, have been coerced and or perhaps reactive abuse, that because you was experiencing abuse from the narcissist involved in your life, you may have acted out of character on a certain time or a certain place. I guarantee that that's most of the negative things that you would have done. But literally, you was keeping it real. You was keeping it 100 with these parasites, right? You was. And now it's come to a time that you may be in a position of hurt or pain or betrayal from their cruel actions towards you. And it's time for you to realize that you are the actual star. You are the actual blessing, you know? Them losing you, they're losing out. You're not missing out on shit. You're not missing out on nothing. You've been spared, you know? And, you know, call it God, call it the universe, call it karma, whatever you want to call it, right? Is the true puppet master and the true one in control of what happened. So that's why when you're discarded or reverse discarded, you know, or even you cut them off because it become too toxic, God or the universe allowed them to become that way, misguided them, let them go astray. Let them go astray. Let them think that they can do better. Let them think that they could, you know, and it's only when through the course of time, you know, not long either, they'll realize very soon on how much of a blessing that you actually was. They realize this very soon on, how much of a blessing you actually was. And then they're faced with that reality of them being cruelty. They remember what they did. They're not stupid. I call them idiots and stupid, but they've got memories. They remember, you know, they're able to remember. They're able to remember the hurt that they caused you. They know that they caused you hurt and pain. They know they've done this. So this is why they're in the conundrum. And they face the challenge of actually doing that Hoover attempt, you know? And the fact of the matter is, when you reject that Hoover, more Hoovers will come. More Hoovers will come. And there's something that I probably should have said at the start of the video, for those of you that haven't got this far, but I've just remembered it now. And many of you that say you haven't received the Hoover, the narcissist hoovers very quickly, especially after a discard or reverse discard, right? It could have been those last few messages you exchanged. It could have been the last phone call you received. It could have been something like that to this day, right? They hoover very at the beginning. It could have been a fake profile on social media. They could have been something, right? You could have been speaking to someone on social media that you thought was someone else, and it was really the narcissist behind the screen, right? Or behind the phone, right? And they was trying to figure you out from a distance, right? This occurs. So a lot of you have probably already had hoovers that you just don't realize you've actually had, because you're expecting the hoover to be this massive thing, right? And it is a significant moment in the healing journey. The hoover is a significant moment in the healing journey, but it becomes in a bizarre, weird way. If you can take anything from this video, just remember that the hoover comes in a bizarre, weird way. So it might even take you to reflect back. You could have been having a conversation, right, with the narcissist involved in your life about, you could have been talking about A, right? And then the narcissist involved in your life started talking about B or C. And you at the time was confused. That was their like subtle hoover attempt. Or, their subtle hoover attempt. And then because you wasn't being coherent towards talking about C and D, you know, they resorted to stopping talking to you, or this is what they do. You know, it's very weird. The hoovers are weird. That's what you've got to understand, right? So just know that the hoovers come, you know, I've read in the comment section, people experiencing, you know, hoover after hoover after hoover after hoover, not straight after one after another, because they have to go back and lick their wounds and their hurt and their pain before, you know, and their narcissistic injuries before they strike again with another hoover. But ultimately, you don't even want hoovers. After you possibly get one hoover, you don't even want the hoover ever again, you know? You don't want the Hoover ever again. You don't want nothing to do with them. And that's the place that I want all of you to head towards, right? Wanting absolutely nothing to do with this parasite, and just knowing full well that this person that was involved in your life, this narcissist that was involved in your life, at the time of discard or reverse discard, at the time that they become so toxic that you had to cut them off, they had the biggest motive and the biggest agenda, right, for their reasons and their actions towards you. Know their phonies. Know they're liars, like I said in the earlier segment. Know they're phonies. Know they're liars. Know they're full of shit. Know they don't speak the truth. You know? They're not going to speak the truth. That's why the Hoovers come in a bizarre way. They can't open up about their true feelings. They wear a mask. Right? So, please, don't take, like I said about the bucket of salt, take a whole bucket of salt with their shit, you know? You really do. Because, you know, some of you have discovered, like I said, you found out they're liars, you found out they're phonies, you found out they're fakes, you found out they're snakes. And then they said some words to you, or they done some actions towards you, and it made you touch, you know, tap into your emotional side and take it straight to your heart. None of their actions or behavior needs to go towards your heart. Because if you harbor that in your heart, you know, it's going to make your heart hurt. You know, this stuff don't need to go to your heart. It will go to your heart at the beginning and possibly even for some period of time after, you know, while you're going through the healing journey. But fundamentally, you get to the place that you realize that none of that stuff needed to affect you. None of that stuff needed to hurt you. This parasite, narcissist that was involved in your life is out there, pissed, regretful, angry, feeling your absence. Feeling your absence. They feel it. Right? So don't give them no opportunity to get back in. And please, don't offer them a helping hand to get back into your life neither. Right? Don't offer them a helping hand to get back into your life neither. These individuals are parasites. Like I touched on, and I went off track, but about the puppet master and God in control, universe in control, it allowed them to go astray. It allowed them to go and act, you know, I'm not condoning what happened to you. I'm not condoning the pain that you've gone through. I'm not condoning the hurt that you've gone through. I'm not justifying it. I'm saying that they were allowed to go that way because they're heading for destruction. They're heading down a dark road, you know? With the affiliates that they're around now, the new suppliers they're around now, they're heading to a dark place. They're not getting better. You were their last chance of hope, you know? You were their last chance of hope. So they've been allowed to go astray. They've been allowed to go astray. And I'm not condoning what happened to you. You know, I'm not justifying what happened to you. I'm not saying it's right what happened to you. I'm not saying that. But it's ultimately, if you're free from them now, then from a higher grand scheme of things, it's worked out in your favor and for your protection, you know, to keep them away from you, you know. It's worked out in your favor to keep them away, to keep them at bay. If they're hesitant about hoovering, they're hesitant, they're ruminating about hoovering, they're premeditating about hoovering, you know, you rejecting them, they're going to get really severe narcissistic injuries that's going to hurt them for a while, you know. So it will keep them at bay, you know. As long as they haven't got access to be able to just call your phone, text your phone, contacting your social media, you going back and forth for them, you going back and forth for them. You don't want none of that. You need silence from them. You don't want to speak to them. You don't want nothing to do with them. That's the position you need to be in. So prioritize your healing. Focus on your healing. It's a must. It's a must, right? I know it sounds cliche, but the healing is literally what revitalizes you and makes you, you know, you will discover some meaning to your existence if you haven't already, you know. You will discover your purpose. You will heal. You will become better. You'll become a new version 2.0 with newfound discernment and newfound spirit. And if you've gone through a block after a discard, click this video here, because this is the real reason why narcissists block you after discard. So anyway, thanks for watching today. I'll be back with another video soon. Peace.